What's up, everybody? Today, on this lovely rainy day, we're going out to do 2 pre-drywall inspections today. Originally had these 2 pre-drywalls and a warranty. We're going to reschedule the warranty since we had all this rain. But the pre-drywalls we're going to go ahead and take care of. One advantage of the rain is maybe a lot of the trades won't be on site, changing conditions as we're inspecting. So let's check those out today. We've got one here in Sun City. It's a retirement village here in Georgetown. And then we've got the other one over in Liberty Hill, a nearby town, and that's also new construction. One's about 1,800 square feet and the other one is 2,000. So let's go check them out. So this rain today definitely posed the temptation to reschedule these inspections to another day. Sometimes, you know, doing this job, you've got a lot of stuff you can always catch up on, whether it's marketing or report writing. I actually got all my reports done from the rest of this week on time. So, you know, I didn't really have a reason to really need today off, other than nobody really likes working out in the rain all day. Especially on pre-drywalls where you're slogging through the mud and so on and so forth. I did, however, reschedule my warranty inspection because I didn't want to go do these 2 pre-drywalls and then try to navigate through a homeowner's house with, you know, mud at the cuffs of my pants and whatnot. Plus, in that case, I'll be getting up on the roof, and with it rainy and wet like this and a 2-story roof, it's just it's a limitation we would have had, and they were happy to reschedule. These pre-drywalls or frames, typically you don't have to get on the roof, especially in the case of today. I have 2 1-story houses, so pretty much everything I need to see with the roof at this point I can see from the ground and from within the house. Things are not sealed up, things like that. So anyways, tempted to take it easy today, but we're just going to push on through. So one of the things I was thinking about the other day regarding these videos, over time I hope to progress, make more. The question in my head is, well, who's my audience? And ultimately, it's for potential future clients. I mean, let's be honest, you know, video making, that's another form of marketing. But it takes time, it's more involved. And I realized that over time as I'm doing these, I think more of my audience, or at least what I'm kind of thinking of in my head when I'm making these videos, is other inspectors, new inspectors. You know, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I've got a new employee. He's been with me for about a year. His name's Brian, and he's been great. He's been working out great. And he had to learn what he knows up to this point fresh. He was what we would call green. He didn't have any industry experience, and guys like him who are getting into the business or consider getting into business, they're devouring these kinds of videos. They want to know as much as they can. Now, truth be told, all of us that are making these videos, you know, we are to a degree subject matter experts in our field, but nobody knows everything, and nobody is flawless in their knowledge. So, you know, there may be some things I might be hesitant to really dive into as a true expert, and there may be things that I might get slightly wrong. But either way, we're here to help. You know, that's the intent of a lot of these videos, is to not only help homeowners to garner new business through advertising, but primarily I think these videos are intended to educate and help new inspectors become better inspectors so that our industry as a whole flourishes and thrives. So if you're a new inspector and you're watching this video, stay tuned. We're going to try to really kind of up our content and do specific videos on specific systems, ways that we do our inspection, how we report our findings to the client, a lot of things like that. And so if, you know, any of you out there watching have any recommendations or requests, let us know, and we'll be sure to try to cover a lot of that content as we go along. So thanks for watching. Looks like we might have some people on site here. So my attempt at having nobody here Doesn't look like it panned out, but that's all right. We'll get it done. All right, so we got a little break in the rain. I mean, obviously we can still see the water's just pouring off this lot, but it's let up enough that we can get some work done on the outside here. So we get our level, we're gonna get after it. First things first, get the exterior photo. There we go. I've already input all the information in the report regarding which way the house faces, the temperature at the time of the inspection, square footage, all that information. I always like to come in, kind of take a quick look around the interior before I start, even though I start the exterior first. And yeah, nice and clean in here. Although I typically find this to be the case with these homes up here in Sun City, for the most part. I mean, I've had some that are a little dirty here and there, but this one is looking real nice. So this will make the job a lot easier for sure. Looks like they've had a few inspections already of their own. They've probably done some corrections. First time I've seen Curdy board out here. All right, so let's head outside and get wet and see what's going on. Okay, so one of the things I like to do on these pre-drywalls is I always like to start at the front left corner of the house. Well, before I start the actual inspection of the exterior, I go all the way around and I take pictures of all sides of the house. And I put these in the report as just, complimentary or courtesy photos, just so that everybody can see what this house looked like on every side before they started covering it up. And then I started the front left corner, and I'm looking at the sheathing. In this case, we've got the T-ply sheathing, thermoply. A couple different manufacturers that make it. They all pretty much have the same standards as far as installation goes. Looking at the taping, the fastening of these sheathing panels. Have they protected all the exposed framing materials? How have they sealed the penetrations? Have they sealed the penetrations? What does our flashing look like here above the doors? Those types of things. Anchor straps, I like seeing these for the inspections so we can see that they're nailed off, but they do need to be sealed off before they start covering them up. Sometimes we get here and those are taped over, so we just annotate that we can't see those straps. Now, like it or hate it, thermoply sheathing. This is the sheathing we have here. Every single house out here built in this neighborhood has this kind of sheathing on it. I know a lot of you guys out there can't stand this stuff. It's, cardboard with a waxy impregnated material. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But it is approved for use structurally. And I'll say this, how I've seen this stuff installed on many different occasions, this is one of the cleaner, better looking installations. Overall, I don't really have a lot of problems with what's going on here at this house, other than our fasteners. We can see fasteners down every stud row at the seams. They've taped every seam, which is great, but our fasteners need to be 3 inches on center. And for the most part, they did a good job, but you can see here, I don't know if you can see that, we've got about 4 or 5 inches there. And you repeat that over and over in different locations. And what that does, well, for one, it's not to manufacturer specifications, so if there's ever a problem, they're not going to cover or warranty this product. But we want to make sure this house is as structurally sound as possible, and that's one of the ways we do it, is to make sure that this panel is secured as designed. We did have some problems in the back with this sheathing though. You can see here, this cut portion right here has a gap between the tape and the sheathing. And so that's gonna have to, that gap right there is gonna have to get sealed over. Got the same thing going on here. In fact, you can see where our poly seal is extruding out. The panel's not secured properly, so that's gonna have to get secured and resealed. And same thing on the back porch. This panel here, they poly sealed around and it just kind of blew right out that seam. So we need to cut that back, re-secure the sheathing, maybe put in some blocking, and seal that with tape. Oh, missed that guy right there. They need to secure that. When it comes to this tape, all flashing tapes should be adequately and firmly rolled out within a roller. We've got loose pieces, you know, I mean, look at this. This water is gonna run right down into that gap there, and it's just totally gonna fill this area here with moisture. Right there, that water can run down and fill that void with moisture. So this tape really should all be rolled, pressed on, and you know, we just don't see that very often. But anyway, overall, exterior looks good. We've got some nailing comments, we've got some tape comments, and we've got just a few sheathing comments. A couple of flashing comments above the garage doors here, but for the most part, some exposed wood there. Looks pretty good out here. Let's go inside and see what we got. By the way, now that we're inside here, let me talk about another reason why I like pre-drywall inspections. Don't have to carry around as many tools as we do on existing or new construction final homes. Here's my tools for this job: my tape measure, my level, and the best tool I've ever owned ever, my flashlight. Whoops, we gotta turn up our intensity there. That's it. That's my pre-drywall frame inspection kit, if you will. What do you guys use? Is there something else out there that you use on these inspections that I might be interested in learning about? Let me know. Okay, one of the things we always want to check within this wall in regards to the electrical system are these GEC conductors or ground bounding conductors, depending on which one we're talking about. These clamps right here, they have to be compression fit, and man, I tell you, sometimes I'll come in here and I'll just kind of tug on these, and that one will pop right out. These clamps won't be secure all the way, so definitely something we want to check at this stage. Okay, another thing, if we're looking at this electrical, we've got wiring routed through studs. We need to protect that wiring. So any wire that's less than 1.25 inches back from the face of this stud needs a metal nail plate, striker plate. So you can see this guy here, we're at about 3/4 inch. So that definitely needs a striker plate here in this water heater alcove. Okay, when we're talking about the fastening of these panels, here's another issue. We have missed fasteners. We got some missed fasteners and some gapping here. So we need to flatten that out, re-secure that down. Okay, so in here in the garage, we've got this girder truss. It runs side to side along the garage, and attached to it, we've got a number of these mono trusses going out to the front eave. And that truss right there has a hanger. And I don't know if you can see, but there's no fasteners on that left flange of that truss hanger. There's some going into the truss that it's supporting, and there's plenty on this side, but none on that left flange. So that needs to be nailed off to ensure adequate support. And the reason why this truss has a hanger versus the others is because it is also supporting an additional load. So that's why that one has a hanger and these have compression blocking, or whatever you want to call that. Oops, somebody hit that wet concrete. Okay, so now we're coming in from the garage into the interior of the home. We're gonna pick up our inspection. Here it looks like we have a large laundry room. And basically, I just go around the house in a counterclockwise fashion, checking each aspect in each room. So what I mean by that is I'll come into a room and I will look at plugs. Make sure that they're properly spaced. Well, this room doesn't quite apply. It's not a living area, so the spacing is going to be a little different here. But I make sure that the plugs are spaced adequately, that we have no more than 12 feet between the junction boxes. I'm looking at, again, we mentioned earlier, the wire protection. I want to make sure all the wiring routed through the walls is properly protected, as well as the plumbing. Here are the sill plates on this drain plumbing. We need that plate not only there, but it has to come up 2 inches. And same with the top, it's got to come down 2 inches. We've got water lines protected, plumbing protected. Also looking at placement of light junction boxes. Now, we don't always know where the lights are specifically supposed to be, but if they are in place, that they're in properly, and to make sure that all smoke alarm junction boxes are where they need to be. We'll also look at the windows in each room. Now again, in this case, in the laundry room, this one doesn't apply, but if a window is near a door or a door opening or any other area where tempered glass is required, now's the time to catch it if it's not, so we can get that replaced before the finishes start going up. I'm also gonna look at the trusses as I go room to room. You know, one of the things that can be a little daunting in these frame inspections is inspecting these trusses. And you know, you can kind of approach it one of two ways. Just look at the roof trusses all at once throughout the house, front to back. Each truss has many components. There's the bottom cord, there's the webbing, there's the top cords. And then in each one of these, we have connection points here, with gusset plates. So there's a lot to look at on a truss to make sure they're not damaged or there's no issues with those. So again, I like to go from room to room, look at the wall framing, the electrical, the plumbing, the windows, those kinds of specifics. And then I'll look at the trusses as far as they pertain to this particular room. And I'll do it from room to room to room. And then at the end, I'll go through, get in the attic, and give one last look at all the trusses. Okay, so I may have mentioned it before. I'm a humble man. I don't profess to know everything and know exactly what the code writer's intent was on a lot of codes, but here's one I've pondered and never really got an answer on. The code for framing walls has a specific guideline for securing intersecting wall panels. So this exterior wall intersecting with this interior wall. And I noticed on a lot of these homes out here in Sun City and in other areas, typically they'll do like a lightweight framing where a lot of your interior walls will be spaced 24 inches on center. Here they're actually, yeah, they are 24 inches on center. But in a lot of these homes, we've got that one connection point in the middle. You got your sill plates going together, and your top plate's got an overlapping top plate, and then we have one connection point in the middle. And I'm not sure if there's an exception or something that allows them to do this outside of what the code says. So if any of you guys out there, any of you inspectors, particularly ones who do pre-drywall inspections, if you have any information on that, what says that that's allowed, I'd love to know what that is. Okay, so we got a wiring issue here for this kitchen that we see sometimes, I'd say about 50-50. And they literally took 50-50 seriously on this job. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So in order for this island to have any electrical for the dishwasher disposal and the island receptacles, we gotta run electrical to it. Well, there's no other connecting wall, so that all has to go down through the slab. And that takes place right here. I've got the wiring coming off of these boxes and it's going down the slab. But you'll notice we got two different color wires. We got a yellow one and that gray one. So the yellow is a non-metallic sheathed cable wiring that we see throughout the house. This gray one is made differently, and that's called UF wire, underground feed wire. It's resistant against moisture. Well, it's really resistant against moisture. It's rated for underground use, wet location use, whereas this yellow wire is not. So when we see this yellow wire going down under the slab, many will consider, and this is how I interpret it, that to be an underground or wet location. So whenever we see this yellow wiring coming up from the slab, we write that up. They got this one right, but not this one. Also got this guy coming down here, and he runs out to this floor box in the living room. So again, gray UF, good for that use. The yellow non-metallic sheath cabling, can't run it down through there. Okay, here's something else we point out in regards to the attic and the ventilation. You'll see here this round opening. This is just a few feet off the eave. That is a low profile intake roof vent that's on the roof. Again, it's an intake vent. It is intended to bring air into the attic, and then it takes it to one of these larger outtake vents or exhaust vents. We're here in the garage, so we don't see this here, but at the living space where we're gonna have insulation, these should have baffles covering them. Okay, so this is one of these airflow baffles. You can see the edge of the vent right there. And what this baffle does is it creates these air channels so that when they pack in this eave with insulation, and they put about 15 inches of insulation across this attic, this baffle originally was intended to prevent that soffit vent from getting clogged, but now if we have an off-eave vent, well, that's not going to get clogged, but what'll happen is a rush of air will come into this vent from the outside, and it will literally blow a bowl into this insulation that's going to be placed here once the ceiling's up. And it'll take your 15 inches of insulation and it'll create a, 2.5 foot diameter bowl where that insulation might go down to 6 inches. So these baffles are important here, even at the off-eave intake vents. Okay, another thing we're looking for at these walls, the top plates, that they properly sealed any penetrations with that fire blocking foam. You can see here the pipes, the supply plumbing, the wiring. Over here, we just missed a couple spots. We got these 2 holes here and here. They need to be sealed off still. So here's another little detail. I used to write up a lot, and I wrote it up because it's something I learned from an older inspector I did a lot of work with back in the day. But bathrooms, we've got the toilet's going to be here, and the vanity sink's going to be right there. So we've got our plumbing lines, our drain plumbing, supply plumbing coming down, and this blocking here is serving as cabinet blocking. If they install a cabinet vanity, that's going to be an attachment point for that. Well, those screws are generally longer than our standard drywall screws. So whereas, wiring we allow for 1.25 inches, you should really allow for more for that screw with cabinets. So ideally, these plates should be here protecting each of these lines. So if they put in a vanity or a cabinet here, they're not going to drill into that water line. Now, it doesn't give them a lot of real estate, and it's got to be frustrating for the cabinet installer, but they'll find a way. It's better that they find an alternative way to secure that cabinet than to put a screw through one of these plumbing lines. Drain line's not as big of a deal, but it can have repercussions over time. Supply lines are horrendous because, especially with these PEX lines, a screw will go in. Sometimes it'll seal itself and it won't leak for months. And then eventually that screw starts to rust and corrode, and now that leak starts. And the homeowners moved in, they're living in here, and now this wall's saturated. So it's just a problem that can easily be avoided by installing a simple striker plate in our cabinet blocking. I don't know about you other inspectors, but in my opinion, a frame inspection is incomplete until you find the beer cans. Every time, without fail. All right, so just met with the buyer's agent on this house. She's an agent we've worked with for a long time. Referred us to the buyer for this home. Kind of went through the summary of what we're looking for, kind of a bullet point of some of the items we're finding. And this report will be out to them first thing in the morning, maybe tonight, depending on the rest of the day's schedule. And they'll submit that to the builder. And I always tell my clients, if the builder has any questions, or if there's anything that I've put in the report that they disagree with, or if there's a code that I've referenced, something that's improper, and they have an exception or an amendment from the local municipality, the local building inspector, to just simply provide that information to the client. I always tell my clients, look, I have no enforcement authority. I'm telling you what I see. but I'm also going to support why I'm saying that. I try not to throw a lot of opinion into these reports. Oh, this needs to be fixed because that stud looks, terrible. This isn't what this is about. We don't want to fill the report with fluff and things that aren't pertinent or important. And by not doing that and putting in just the pertinent things, the things we can support with either a manufacturer's spec or a code reference, the builders tend to take these reports a little more seriously. So anyways, wrapping up here, we're gonna grab our stuff, head out to the next one. Okay, so wrapping up on the second pre-drywall for the day. A lot of the same issues that we had in the first one, few of those items here in this one. One of the differences on this house versus that one, this is a 2-story. So there's some added elements that we didn't have on the other one that we're looking at today, such as larger beams, supporting beams. With that, we have hangers. Well, we had a hanger on the other one with the truss, but more of them and in different capacities. This house did have a few more issues with the exterior sheathing, the thermoply. It wasn't quite installed to the level as the previous house. We had a number of areas where we had sections that were loose, or we had seams that weren't properly overlapped or taped. We were even missing a large section of sheathing or house wrap on the back to cover the OSB above the garage. The anchoring on this house was a bit better than the other one. But again, as far as the rest of the issues, protecting the electrical wiring, things like that, we found a couple items in this house as well. So overall, the 2 today, not bad. They're in pretty good shape. There are some corrections to be made, but the list won't be extensive, and I don't think it's anything the builder's going to kind of push back on with the client. So yeah, that's today's 2 pre-drywall inspections. We had a lot of rain to start off the day. Didn't think we were going to get to them, but the rain let up. We were able to kind of achieve what we needed to today. So covered a lot of different topics with these inspections today. Is that everything we're looking at in a pre-drywall? No, not necessarily. But it does cover a number of the things that we're looking for during these inspections. So we'll hope to be back again soon with another video, maybe focusing on a new construction final. And then if we have a lot of time in a day and have just one inspection of the day, maybe we'll do one on an existing home, older home, where we find all kinds of things. So until next time, thanks for checking out our videos. Support us, let your friends know about it. And you new inspectors out there, let us know what you want to hear about. We'll talk to you soon.